Let's take a look at some charts on REN from this week's article on Brave New Coin. So REN VM, REN Virtual Machine, is an idea back from 2018 or earlier. And it does have a competitor called just Wrapped BTC or WBTC. You've probably seen it if you've traded on any of these dexes or attempted to get BTC onto Ethereum. So what REN or any wrapper is able to do is increase the interoperability of these chains, basically porting things like BTC onto Ethereum at a 1-to-1 ratio. So you'll send your BTC or compatible coins through the REN VM and out pops REN BTC, and then you can use that in the DeFi ecosystem. The difference between REN and just wrapped BTC in general is that REN uses a system of dark nodes and dark pools so that the privacy is preserved or attempted to be preserved. There isn't any KYC requirements, so it's already questionable legally, depending on which country you're in. REN VM is also an attempt at decentralizing the whole process, whereas if you go through WBTC, you have to rely on a third-party merchant or somebody collecting the KYC AML information, that sort of thing. And again, we can look at it just as you basically send your private keys to the REN VM, out spits the REN BTC at a 1-to-1 value. Pretty simple concept. But again, the big thing is the dark pools and the dark nodes. So these exist in legacy financial markets to sort of hide large trades or prevent large trades from being front run by other players in the market. So it's not to say that they don't serve a purpose and are important already. They just didn't necessarily exist in the crypto realm. Before it was called REN, it was called Republic Protocol. Common theme with these DeFi apps is they've rebranded at least once. Almost everything I've written about over the past week has rebranded at least once into its current final form. If we look at the ICO, I had to double and triple check these numbers. I hope they're correct, just because if we're looking at public ICO versus private pre-sale, which basically is what this kind of was, the numbers are super generous for the pre-sale, right? And this exemplifies a perfect example of sort of the problem with ICOs, or the opportunity, I guess some people could say. You know, if you could get into a pre-sale of any ICO, you'd generally automatically make a profit, even from the people who got in the public ICO. So the pre-sale people are at a profit currently by thousands of %. Public ICOs obviously also at a massive profit. Currently, there's 881 million REN circulating, 1 billion max supply. Dark nodes require 100,000 REN to be spun up, similar to any other master node type system, staking, that sort of thing. The nodes collect a portion of the fees. If you look at the total value locked, it's between 600 and 650 at any given time point, USD notional value. And you can see it has been creeping up over the past year and basically 2x'd since late December. So lots of activity in and out of REN over the past few months. If we look at the token stats as far as on-chain stuff, essentially when they opened up the platform for Wrapped BTC, so I don't know if it was September, October, somewhere in, it's pretty obvious, right? Like you see this massive uptick in use all of a sudden on chain. And this coupled with DeFi exploding, just right place, right time. So tons of on-chain activity for REN, tons of growth in the average transaction sizes, both extremely bullish for any token. Transactions per day just continuing to increase. And that's what you want to see. It shows you people are using it, right? Like this is how it looked when no one was using it in 2019, and this is how it looks when people are using it, right? Here's the NVT, inverse metric of economic activity, and active addresses. Once again, I mean, this just tells you everything, right? Declining NVT is bullish, rising active addresses are bullish, and ever since mid-2020, it's just been an explosion in use. Maybe not compared to other chains, but for this chain specifically, I mean, it basically went from hardly any active addresses to thousands, or in the thousands, 1,200, and it's continuing to rise. So lots of activity using REN for whatever reason. NVT falling is bullish on any chain. Anytime you don't have like a UTXO type network, it's hard to look at NVT compared to other chains the same way, just because they all operate so differently. But it is pretty clear that ever since mid-2020, NVT has just been cruising at all-time lows, so lots of activity relative to market cap. If we look at technicals, 50, 200 EMAs, this is daily Binance chart, yearly pivots, VPVR, RSI. So no bear div on RSI yet. There wasn't a higher high here. There probably will be the beginnings of a bear div if this does break out into all-time high territory. I'd expect major resistance at $1. Anytime you're going from something behind the decimal place to in front of the decimal place, or behind the comma to in front of a comma, there's going to be lots of psychological resistance there at the all-time highs. I'd expect this to respond to that in some way in the form of resistance. It's held above the 50 and the 200 EMAs for quite a while. It's basically 2x from the 200 daily moving average right now. You had your bull cross in mid-2020, and ever since then it's just been off to the races. VPVR support's way down here, like 10 cents or less. So not a ton of volume up in this range relative to 20 cents or less. Looking at the cloud, it had a bullish Kumo breakout in mid-January, and then it had a Kijun bounce in late January, and everything just looks like bullish continuation. Trend looks good, cloud thickness looks good. All this looks like it's definitely going to reach for all-time highs, higher highs, that sort of thing. REN BTC, the trend is neutral. It's above the 200, but it's in the cloud, and anytime it's in the cloud, it's a bit of a no-trade zone. You could argue there's some sort of edge trade here with a reach to 2300 sats. In reality, this will probably chop around widely from 1500 to 2500 sats until it finally climbs above the early pivot, climbs above the daily cloud, that sort of thing. This VPVR profile is super interesting. Just very clean stairs down below 1300 sats. So not a lot of volume up here, and basically all of the volume down here. It almost looks like anybody in the ICO sold or has sold at this point. It's a couple years back as far as the ICO is concerned, so it wouldn't surprise me that there aren't a lot of people left holding, unless you're in the dark node, dark pool situation, which is good for price because anytime you're up 5x multiple, 10x multiple, more and more people are going to start to sell, and eventually that sell is going to overtake buying demand. Arguably what happened up here. Even people who were buying down here, are selling on the way up. So that's potentially why this is sort of stabilized, above previous all-time highs, basically where anybody in the ICO would be selling, but also several multiples above the ICO still. So I like REN. I like the use case. Is it legal in the US? Probably not, but that's not going to stop people. Is it legal in most countries? Probably not. The dark pool, dark node stuff, super interesting. Being able to pull off stuff like that. On-chain stats, total value locked, just screaming over the past few months. Just tons of activity ever since they enabled wrapped BTC. Technicals for the USD pairs look good for bullish continuation. Technicals for the BTC pair looks more range bound than anything. So if you expect continued use of wrappers like REN, I would expect to continue to be bullish on the protocol as well as the token price.